Greetings Zimbabwe, greetings the world. My name is Scientist Engineer Peter Munyanduri. I'm the president of a very brand new political party in Zimbabwe called the New Patriotic Front, NPF, which is a political party which was formed after realizing gross incompetence on the part of the two major political parties in Zimbabwe. And therefore, to enrich our democratic space, we decided to actively participate in the political activities in the country. Today's topic is election results and the way forward. My major theme is to the people of Zimbabwe and the international community. If a dull person wins an election in any country, all people will suffer. And what I mean by that, the citizens of the country, like Zimbabwe, will all pay heavily, as well as investors in the country, because they are not guaranteed of getting premium returns for their investment in the country. And also the international community will suffer as a result of incompetence of a person on the pinnacle of a country. If I get the time, I'll go through what I call the 360-degree analysis of electoral performance in the just ended election, because I know most people only concentrate on a one-dimensional analysis of election performance in the form of the quantities of votes obtained by any political candidate in the election. To the Zimbabweans, I'm saying we have a dark cloud on our country for the next 5 years, because incompetent, uneducated people have rigged the people's victory in their favor. Zimbabweans have for a long time been starved of good leadership, resulting in the country being one of the worst in terms of all economic metrics that you can ever think of. For example, Zimbabwe has got the highest unemployment rate in the world, 95%, whilst other countries with competent leadership, like Qatar, has got 0.4%, China 0.6%, UK 0.7%. I'm sure every right thinking Zimbabwe is not happy with this type of status. It's pointing to the incompetence of the ZANU-PF political party, as well as the MD formation. They've also failed to improve the employment level in the country, resulting in it being the worst in the world. Zimbabwe is also a bottom-income country, whilst we are talking right now, because by self-admission by Mnangagwa himself, he's hoping to make Zimbabwe a middle-income country by 2030, which we know that is incapable. He lacks the capacity to achieve that, lacking the key qualifications which are key in terms of driving the economy. If Mnangagwa is genuine in his promise that he wants to make Zimbabwe a middle-income country by 2030, then we are saying by 2023 we expect everyone's salary to have increased by a quarter, if you go to the mathematics of it. So which means by 2023, if all Zimbabwe do not have a salary increase of a quarter of what they're getting right now, it means Mnangagwa lied. To show and demonstrate the incompetence of the ruling party, when we talk about ZANU-PF, we're talking about a very highly incompetent, corrupt, and confused political party. We were under white rule in this country for less than 100 years. And within that space of time, we managed to build all the cities, towns, roads, bridges we have right now, and the airports. ZANU-PF has ruled this country for almost 40 years, which is almost half the time. My question to Zimbabweans and the international community is, what one city did ZANU-PF build in this time? What new town was built by ZANU-PF in the 40 years that it has been in power? Which roads and rails and airports did ZANU-PF build from 1980? The answer is zero. So we are talking about a very highly incompetent regime in the form personified by Mnangagwa himself and the evil ZANU-PF party, which has killed a lot of our people during their so-called Chimurenga. Rather than educating the Shonas, they managed to make almost 500,000 Shonas were killed in the process. And also we're talking about the 20,000 Gugurahund victims who were murdered in cold blood by the evil ZANU-PF party. We are also saying Zimbabwe has one of the lowest life expectancies in the world. Those with computers and cell phones which can Google can confirm this development. Zimbabwe is one of the lowest life expectancies in the world, 35, 60 years, below 60 years. Whilst other countries with competent leadership, like Japan in particular, 89, people are expecting to live up to 89 years, UK 87 years, China 86 years. When you add all the years of people who died in the past 10 years and divide by their number, you get what is called life expectancy. That is, if you are born in Zimbabwe, how long do you expect to die? On what average years do you want to die? This is what is called life expectancy. The fact that we've got one of the lowest life expectancies in the world, it's pointing to the fact that, indisputable fact that Mnangagwa himself, the ZANU-PF party, the MDC alliance formations are grossly incompetent. And therefore our people are dying young. It is said when you go to graveyards now, you see a person born 2000, died 2018. And also some of these people are being killed by the ruling party. We witnessed the death of 7, unfortunate death of 7 people, because of the 2 parties which led our 7 people unnecessary loss of life in the form of being shot by wicked criminals. ZANU-PF and MDC formations, from my point of view, are criminals in this country and are not good for the country, its citizens, and the international community. Zimbabwe is a rural area of South Africa. Those who have been to Pretoria or Johannesburg confirm this development, in the sense that if you come from Johannesburg and you come to Zimbabwe, the capital city Harare, it's like you have been from Harare to a growth point. Because those that have been in Joburg, for example, we've got 40-story buildings. In Harare, the tallest is about 20 story, which is pointing to the gross incompetence and uncaring political parties in the form of ZANU-PF and the MDC formations, which have been in power for almost now 40 years. And we are saying Zimbabwe is one of the lowest rate of economic development in the world. This, obviously, they are incapable of improving the economic fortunes of our people, and they therefore don't deserve to be running this country. We compare Zimbabwe with other countries, where probably people believe African statistics. I go to Zimbabwe, its current rate of economic development is struggling between 2 to 3%. Other countries like Tanzania, with a president with a PhD in chemistry, the rate of economic development is about 7%. Angola, under Dos Santos, it was averaging the growth rate about 7%. Under Mugabe, Zimbabwe even slowed back to minus 3%, which means it wasn't actually growing, it was actually receding, going downwards, which shows that ZANU-PF is an incompetent political party. I'll give you an example of countries led. Last in January, February, when I Googled, 7 out of 10 of the fastest growing economies in the world are countries that were led by engineers and scientists. For example, we can mention about the fastest growing economy in the world last year was Ethiopia, which was being ruled by a civil engineer. And there was also Mozambique with a mechanical engineer just next door. And also China with a chemical engineer was also in the top 10, but Zimbabwe was the lowest. Countries led by lawyers, Zimbabwe being one of them, was one of the countries which was almost at the bottom in terms of all economic metrics that we can ever think of. To the Zimbabweans and the international community, the fact is, a lawyer is a professional liar. You can meet a person and a lawyer can represent you in court, and you can be discharged for having not made it. This is one profession which encourages lying. Any scientific field of study penalizes lying, and hence why countries led by lawyers are, engineers are highly successful, while those led by lawyers are at the bottom of any economic metric that you can ever think of. Right, I've got a friend who is a professor of linguistics at the University of Zimbabwe. I'm sure all of you know Professor Mashiri. And also my wife used to teach Shona at secondary school. I also learned that words were obtained by Shonalizing English or Englishizing Shona, which means in Shona we say Murome wakura iwere pasi, or words of elders will always hold true. If you say table in English and if you Shonalize that word, you say table. If you say in English spoon and you Shonalize that word, you call it chupun. If you've got a motor car and you Shonalize that word, you call it a motor car. If you've got an English word called lawyer in a Shona, you call roya. Roya ram. This is the source word for muroi, which means the muroi or witches and wizards that were mentioned in our country are actually lawyers. And the reason why a lawyer was called a witch or a wizard is that if you lose the country, the life expectancy of a country will go down, just like the case of Zimbabwe and Russia. A lawyer is a very good example of a learned but an educated individual. This is why you find out in all English-speaking countries, lawyers refer to each other as my learned friend. They don't say my educated friend. It's very calculated. I'll go on if I've got time to highlight why I think a lawyer is not an educated individual. Education is about capacitating an individual to be able to create value for his society, country, and international world. Right. So, a lawyer, for example, the word justice is a different concept from fairness, which is the undoing of the legal profession. We said education is about capacitating an individual to be able to create value for his community, country, and international community. And then, for example, justice means according to the law. Fairness is a different concept, which means if a law encourages murdering people or stealing from the people, the lawyer will just enforce such a law, which is not now, it does not fall in the category of education. Because if you enforce, for example, in America, United States of America, slavery was unfair, but it was legal. Lawyers in that country would just enforce blindly such an unfair law. Apartheid in South Africa was also legal and also unfair, but lawyers in that country during that period would just enforce, which is an undoing of what. For example, in Zimbabwe, we're talking about the political parties finance, where there's the evil NPF party and the MDC party are stealing our money, $30 million every year. According to the British standards for democracy, there is no political party or an individual who is given tax money. So MDC and NPF are stealing our money every year, $30 million every year, against our wish and without our approval as citizens. This is an example of people stealing. So lawyers will just enforce such a law which is actually subtracting value from our country just because the law says so. That's why a lawyer is an example of an educated person. So we're saying, if you look at an educated person, an educated person knows very well the importance of education in all spheres of life. So whenever an educated person votes, be it presidential, be it national assembly, be it local council level, an educated person will always vote for the most educated. He was researched before elections, and we always vote for the most educated presidential candidate on the ballot paper. And also, we always vote at National Assembly, the most educated person on the ballot paper for National Assembly, as well as councilorship level. So for those who want to know the actual educational scientific rate in this country, you just take who was the most educated presidential candidate on the ballot paper, and that was no one else besides scientist and engineer Tendai Peter Munyanduri. So you say the people who voted for Tendai Peter Munyanduri over those that voted for all other presidential candidates, including Munyanduri, times 100. That gives what is called educational literacy rate. Because we are saying, that's why we say that educated person will always vote for the educated person, not the propaganda that we've been hearing from the ZANU-PF mouthpieces, which is a very lie to say that our people have got we are educated 95% literacy rate. Literacy rate is not about being fluent in any language, be it Shona or English, from my point of view. Because if it was being fluent in the English language, then there would have been no need for the English people to ever go to school, because they have been automatically educated, because even if we speak English, we can never do it better than the English people themselves. So this is the reason why Mugabe led this country to poverty, with people in Zimbabwe falsely believing that he was educated. Under Smith's fail and go policy, I'm sure all Zimbabweans know that Mugabe is an undegreed individual. Mnangagwa does not have a degree, Chamisa does not have a degree, Joyce Mjuru, Grace Mugabe's degrees are invalid, because the logic behind the Smith's fail and go policy was that, for example, now I'm 52 years, I go and sit with grade ones, 5-year-olds, and I become number one. That qualification and result is not valid because they are age groups. My message to Zimbabweans is that if a country is ruled by an academically crippled person like Mnangagwa, Chamisa, or any other lawyer, people in that country will greatly suffer, and hence also bad international relations, and also the investors will pay through the nose because they will not get premium returns for their investment in the country. What I mean is, ZANU-PF has failed to educate our people, which is a very sad observation, as highlighted by voting patterns. We also talk about what is called integumentary system within the human body. There are 11 systems within the human body. We can mention about the digestive system, the endocrine system, the urinary system. The integumentary system within the human body is one such system, which are interdependent, interconnected, and so forth. If you look at this country, people will always encourage one another to have haircuts. This is a sign that our people are not educated. Because the purpose of hair, of the integumentary system, which includes the hair, the skin, and also the nails, the integumentary system protects individual from external hazards. For example, if you're holding a ladder and someone drops a spanner, if you've got long hair, the injury to the skin is minimal. Of course, we know that the scalp protects the brain ultimately, but the hair is there for protecting individuals from injury falling from above. So the fact that our education system still enforces the school children to have haircuts means our country is not educated, and therefore ZANU-PF has failed grossly in its mandate to be able to educate our people. I again repeat this, if a Dao person assumes national leadership at all pinnacle, all citizens of Zimbabwe will suffer, as the statistics have always given, unemployment rate, life expectancy, and so forth. And we are saying to ZANU-PF, if you are given sanctions to not hold the people of Zimbabwe at ransom, you must immediately relinquish that leadership position, so that some of us without sanctions come into power and the people of Zimbabwe becomes prosperous, which is our advice to ZANU-PF. Don't hold our people to ransom. To Zimbabweans, come 2017, my advice is, an educated person will always interrogate the CV of any presidential candidate. A political party cannot campaign using anything outside the CV of its president. The reason being, the president has got the domineering effect on what goes on underneath him. The ministers underneath him will always like to hear what the boss wants to hear, and they tell him exactly what he wants to hear and not the truth, like in the days of Mugabe. So, before any citizen, either in Zimbabwe or elsewhere where they are voting, my advice is people should be able to research the CV of a presidential candidate. And so his capacity, because the CV tells you what degrees you did, what subjects you failed, what subjects you got first class, that's a CV. Where did you work? Because it shows exactly what you're able to deliver as an individual. For example, if Mnangagwa, who is a very uneducated man without even a certificate or grade 1 in business studies, if he says Zimbabwe is open for business, to an educated person, this is a bogus election manifesto. What will professors of business studies and with those with doctorates in business studies campaign using? The same if Mnangagwa says command housing. This is a gross lie, because a house is a civil engineering entity. It's only civil engineers, bricklayers, builders who campaign saying, if I get into power, I'll be able to build more houses for you. Again, if Mnangagwa promises command agriculture, this is an example of a very, very big lie, because it's only crop scientists, agronomists, agricultural extension officers. Our parents who have been in the agricultural services from 1980, who campaign saying, if I get into power, your agricultural output in this country will increase, and our people will be guaranteed of 100% access at ballot time. So, yeah, Zimbabweans should be able to distinguish a bogus election manifesto from a genuine election manifesto by looking at a presidential candidate CV, his education, where he worked for, what he did in life. For example, myself, I work for the power utility. We are the party that has only been giving our people electricity in the rural areas, and not ZANU-PF, because ZANU-PF is a party for lawyers. From Chitepo to Mugabe to Mnangagwa, they are all lawyers. In this country, if you're not a lawyer, you're nobody. In ZANU-PF, if you're not a lawyer, you're nobody. This is the message to all Zimbabweans. People should not be misled by a fake, what they're calling new political dispensation fronted by Mnangagwa. This is a very old, antiquated, and tired political party, with the very old faces on the political stage like Mnangagwa. You cannot call such an entity a new dispensation. We are the only one as the new patriotic front capable of bringing a totally new political dispensation in this country. The media is a very important wing of our country. If our people are going to be educated come 2023, when they all vote for the most educated presidential candidate that is going to go on the ballot paper, it may not be me, because there could be other new political players who could be more educated than myself. I ask the people of Zimbabwe to vote for that particular person. It's generally this election I was the most educated in terms of quantity and quality of education profile from grade 1. because I was number 1 in class from grade 6 up to Form 6 continuously. All classes combined being the best in those classes. You can ask those people who went to meet me to school at Highfield Secondary, Prince Edward, and they will confirm this development. So, the media is very important in terms of knowledge sharing and talent management. It's also responsible for the education, informing, and entertaining our people. And hence why I salute the media fraternity. The media is so powerful, according to the book I read at the University of Chinoy, called The Road to Fame, where they are referring to you, media people, as celebrity making experts. These are celebrity making machines. The book was saying, publicity is the gateway to power. The media is so powerful that it can turn a street kid into a president, and a president like Mnangagwa into a street father come 2023. It's only the media with the capacity to educate and interrogate all election manifestos from all political parties in our country. Because the fact that we have an educated person in our country as the president of this country, it means all of us, including you, the media people, we're going to die early because of what I refer to as life expectancy. Himself will go to be to have health services in Singapore like Mugabe, and he will live long. But it's a sad news for all people in Zimbabwe, including the media people, including myself, including others. So the media should highlight and expose all false propaganda within all parties, so that our country is able to develop like other countries which are excelling in terms of all economic metrics. I also want to explain why if a lawyer, a country like Zimbabwe is led by a lawyer in Russia, are always at the bottom of all economic metrics, and the reason why. I've also mentioned that the lawyer is a professional liar, which is also the one disadvantage. Law is a non-productive and it's a rent-seeking and non-productive profession. If a lawyer works, if a lawyer is given the gift of life by God and lives for infinite years in this country, there's nothing tangible that is able to come out of his profession that you can sell to other countries so that our country can be washed with the United States American dollars, which we need so much. So a lawyer is incapable of achieving such. A lawyer thinks that everyone is a thief, and he wants to convert everyone to be a security guard. Unlike a scientist and an engineer want to convert everyone to become a scientist. These are also some of the reasons why when a lawyer things go down. A lawyer was in a class that failed dismally. Very dull people to be accepted to school. Then they formed 2 academic pair. Because people of my age, they know it very well. When Form 2, I went to Highfield Secondary. Those who were most academically gifted, or called the science class, 4 to 6 units, people went in the science class. 7 to 9, those in commerce. The lawyers were 10 to 13, which was a class of less academically gifted. So when a lawyer assumes leadership, he didn't do the sciences. He will fail to do what is called competent management of the life sciences and hospital, and people will die early. One would want to ask, what is the role of a political post within our health institutions? Policemen are very highly reputable people if they are stationed in their police stations, but not in hospitals, because they may interfere in the proper discharge of health services, life sciences within our hospital, resulting in early death of our friends and so forth. The other reason why a lawyer, if he becomes a president, the country will be number 1, number last in only country, is that lawyers are corrupt. Mugabe, I've never seen anyone who is more corrupt than Mugabe, Tsvangirai, and Mnangagwa. Because if you take a lawyer like Chabite or Chamisa or Chinamasa to be Minister of Finance, which subject they felt at Form 2 to be in that class, there is no corruption which is worse than this. This is the reason why job for policemen is difficult in this country. Because if a lawyer tries to investigate corrupt appointments on the downstream in parastate or government departments, it will always point to Mnangagwa, Mugabe, or Tsvangirai. And therefore, the police or anti-corruption will go back into or discontinue the investigation process. Because all corruption in this country points to Mnangagwa himself, with the most corrupt, confused, and scientifically literate individual. And also, the reason why when a lawyer rules a country, the economic performance is also bottom, is that he will fail to craft what we call safety policies for dangerous ministries and parastatals. For example, I'll give an example of a dangerous parastatal. I worked for the Ministry of Public Construction and National Housing in this country. But what I noticed, when you are building a 20-story building, for example, in Harare, a worker can fall from the ladders, for scaffolds, from the 20th building to the ground level, and obviously the person dies. So the construction industry is very dangerous. I also mentioned about the Electricity sector, where I used to work or where I work, where people are being electrocuted yearly, on a yearly basis. I got information that last year within one of the regions, 37 members of the public had electrical accidents. 15 of them died. Others end up with amputated legs and arms as a result of electricity. Electricity is a very dangerous commodity, but very safe in capable hands and also under a competent leadership. And also, members of staff who had election in one region in 2021, I'll just give this an example. If you add together, talk about 15 people who are having electrical accidents in this country, times 5, I'm sure we'll be able to get a rough idea. This is a factor which goes towards reduced life expectancy. The reason why some of our people are having electrical accidents, because we don't want them to have accidents, I'll try to take this opportunity to try to... I advise all people not to grow mango trees or fruits under sensor lights. Which is my number one recommendation. The reason is, some people or children are dying because they want to get a mango under sensor like electricity lights. And the child gets in touch with sensor lights. And we will have an unnecessary loss of life because of a child who is trying to grab a mango tree, or a child trying to use wire to get a mango or another fruit underneath the sensor light, and unnecessary loss of life. And also, those people who want to extend, the houses or build new houses, my advice is you must look for lodgings so that you move your family and yourself away from a house which is being extended or a house which has not been completely wired. The reason is some of the death that we've watched and noticed is in the process of modifying electrical reticulation or circuits within that house. A person leaves naked wires without insulation at the ends of those wires. A child gets in touch with these wires, and also we have unnecessary loss of life. And also, Zimbabweans, when they see a ZESA or electricity line under the ground, they should know that it's energized. They should treat it as energized and unsafe. Some people try to step or children on that ZESA line, which is on the ground, or even touch it, and we experience an unnecessary loss of life. So what we are saying, my advice, people should tell their children that when they see ZESA electricity lines on the ground, they should try to avoid touching or even jumping, because depending on the voltage, if you hear those electricity lines, the 330 or whatever, which harm when it's flowing above you, even if you haven't touched that particular electricity line, you can still be electrocuted. So these are some of the tips that I'm giving our people to avoid electrocutions which are happening in our country. And also those people who move long objects, for example ladders, irrigation equipment, they should always try to move them on the horizontal position rather than vertical, because we've experienced loss of life of people trying to move long objects underneath electricity lines, and they come in touch with those lines and we experience unnecessary loss of life. I've mentioned that a lawyer is a obviously professional liar, which goes towards him being incapable of transforming the economic fortunes of our country. A lawyer is uneducated in the life sciences and cannot competently manage life sciences as I've been talking. I'm sure NPF is hiding the statistics of electrocutions in this country because they know it will point to them as being very incompetent. I also went to the Minister of Roads sometimes when I was at UZ, because I had a friend who was working and sponsored by the Minister of Roads. Maybe if you know Francis Dangari. I realized that Smith and Mzolewa had plans to dualize all our roads by 1990. If the ZANU-PF government and the MDC government dualize our roads in time by 1995, which means all people that are dying in our roads could not have been dying. Because that have done physics, they know what is called momentum. Where if you are traveling at 100 kilometers, you have a head-on accident with another 100 kilometers, it's 200 kilometers. And this results in unnecessary loss of life. If you hit a car from behind, you just push it. And it's very rare to have someone die from. Which means if our roads were dualized in time, we could have avoided unnecessary loss of life, which is currently happening in our country. So this is also pointing, if you ask what is the qualification of Minister of Roads, you read that he's got a diploma in psychology or something like that. I'm saying every profession is important, including law, if it's placed the way it best fits. So, but the reason is that now the lawyers are very corrupt, as exhibited by Mnangagwa himself, Tsvangirai and Mugabe, who are the ministers. A lawyer, because he didn't do life sciences with crop scientists, unlike engineer scientists and engineers who are in the same class with computer scientists and agronomists, He will fail to ensure 100% access to a balanced diet to all people, resulting in our people starving and dying. A lawyer is incapable, like in British standard of democracy. There is no political party or individual who is given tax money. The role of the tax money is to pay unemployed people so that they're able to live a decent life. The role of the tax money in the UK is to be able to buy drugs so that people do not die due to lack of money for failing to raise money to have them cured. But if a lawyer rules the country, he will steal money, $30 million in this country, looting state funds. One of our promises to the people of Zimbabwe is that when we get into power and also when we fully win the national elections in 2030, which we're definitely going to do, okay, our thing is we're going to compel NPF to return all stolen money that he looted from us from 1980, and we share with all Zimbabweans, including the media experts, including, we will also compel MDC and Alliance to return all stolen money and looted parastatal government assets which was stolen in the name of privatization, and we will share with all the people of Zimbabwe. We are going to ensure free quality health services for all, 100% access to a balanced diet for all our people, removal of corruption. We are also going to centralize the capital city because of the following reasons. We want to decongest Harare. We are committed to decongesting Harare, resulting in a better health for Harare residents because contagious diseases are spread through the exchange of bodily fluids, including saliva vapor. So if we decongest Harare, it will result in better health for all Harare citizens. A centralized capital city will ensure balanced national development, reduced cost of infrastructure linking all villages and towns and all cities to the capital city for people seeking administrative services from the capital city. A centralized capital city will also result in a reduced petrol wear and tear of vehicles, e.g. tire, engine, and gearbox wear for those people seeking administrative services in the capital city. A centralized capital city will also result in a better security for our capital city because as a safeguard against bandits in neighboring countries. For example, in Mozambique, you can have a bandit trying to also infiltrate Harare is near such a country. So centralizing capital city. We are saying to Zimbabweans, love your life, vote for scientists and medical doctors, including engineers, for a better life expectancy. If you don't love your life, you vote for a lawyer and you bewitch your life. We are also saying to the Zimbabweans, immerse yourself in oceanic waters of success by voting the new Patriotic Front, NPF. We are also saying to Zimbabweans, spice your life with pleasure. Join the newness movement, headed by no one else but scientist and engineer NPF Peter Munyanduri. The message is Chamisa and Mnangagwa lacks the capacity to improve the economic fortunes of our people. You lead a country, but you don't judge a country. We are hoping by 2023 we are going to ask Mnangagwa, if you say $16 billion in 6 months, it translates to 40 billion in a year, and it translates to 200 billion by 2023. We are going to ask Mnangagwa with the 2023 $200 billion come election time. We are also going to ask Mnangagwa that he falsely promised trains, diaspora trains. I haven't seen even one. I'm sure also you haven't seen it. An educated person I've mentioned about this is committed to the development of his country, and therefore Switzerland, I'll give you example. Zimbabwe is a top 5 country. Switzerland is only 7 ministers. United States of America is only 14 ministers. But United States of America have got states which are like Zimbabwe, about 50 of them. So if you say 14 divided by 50, you see how many ministers we need. As the new Patriotic Front, we feel that we only need 3 ministers. The minister in charge of scientific entities, the minister in charge of commercial entities, and the minister in charge of arts entities. 3 ministers only. The rest are Mnangagwa's jobs for the boys, unnecessary jobs for the boys. The result is about being a top heavy and so forth. So I will now go to 360 electoral performance ratio. That should be considered under 360-degree analysis of electoral performance. Votes per number of political party permanent employees. Votes per dollar of wage bill for permanent secretary for that political party. We are also considering votes per marketing dollar effort. That is, if you take the cost of all the cars that were bought by NPF and also the paraphernalia in terms of billboards and other t-shirts, you divide their votes by the vote they got. ZANU-PF is also number last. Votes per marketing effort, I mentioned this one. And votes per TV exposure given. We are saying the votes that were given by Chamisa or Mnangagwa divided by the vote TV hours that they got from 2013 to 2018. You see also that ZANU-PF and MDC are number last. Votes per radio hour. We are saying the number of hours that appeared in Mnangagwa on the radio, Zimbabwean radios. His votes he got divided by that hours. You find that Mnangagwa and Chamisa are also number last. votes per print media exposure, or of votes per front page publicity given to each presidential candidate, you also see that Mnangagwa and Chamisa are last. Number of votes or number of votes per lie is said by a political party or political president. You see that NBC in ZANU-PF also not last. Votes per number of billboards, votes per rigging efforts, votes per number of posters, votes per poster area, votes per political party age. ZANU-PF was formed in 1963. If you get the number of votes that they got divided by their age, they are also number last. PMS is number 1. Percentage increase in votes voted by a political party. For example, you also say 3 weeks before election, Mnangagwa was disavested 70% support. At election date, that support fell from 70% to 50.1, which means ZANU-PF was the fastest falling support base. So I say when you consider this under the 360-degree electoral performance analysis, you realize that MDC and ZANU-PF are number last. I thank you.